Craig McCall, a friend and a guide in the digital asset universe. Thanks for joining us, Craig.
Thanks for having me today, Darcy.
I am going to take the plunge and buy my very first NFT, and you are going to help me do it. So thank you very much for volunteering for the job.
It's going to be fun. Let's do it.
Let's just start with a really simple question, Craig. What is an NFT?
So I like to think of my simple version, because people ask me this all the time, is really, well, how I think of it, is a digital certificate. And that can prove ownership or have access. And that's probably the two main things. You have it in a wallet or Web3 wallet. It can prove that you own something, or it gives you access to something.
If people want to find out more and go into a little bit more detail here, I'd encourage everyone to check out the previous show that you and I did, which I'll put a link in the show notes if people want to check that out really simply. Just one more thing. We're going to be talking about Solana as well. So there's a few things that will unravel as we peel this onion back a little bit. Can you just explain to our audience who may understand what Bitcoin is, what we're talking about now when we talk about Solana?
It currently sits 7th in terms of market cap. So there you can see it's 44 billion as of today. I think it was essentially early last year, the token price was only $3. So if you had bought around $3 and got to there, you might have got a 75x on your money.
Not too bad.
Not bad.
Even better than Tesla. Hard to believe.
So yeah, I think if we go into the website for Solana and like, why has it gone on this mad run? It's essentially a layer 1 blockchain. It has its own technology. So Bitcoin is its own technology. You have Solana, you have Ethereum, you have Cardano. And the thing about Solana is it's fast and cheap. And that's probably the main benefits of it. And lots of developers are using it because it's the main coding language is Rust. And Rust is kind of a modern day language. It's quite flexible. A lot of people are going from the Web 2 world across to the Web 3 and starting to build these dApps on top of things like Solana. And the money is coming in too. So they generally say where the developers are, the money flows in from the investors, community comes, flow on effect you see. And that's why you've seen this massive growth in the last year on Solana.
So there's a few things to unpack there. Like firstly, we're talking about a layer 1 blockchain. And so it's written in a language which is different to Ethereum, which is, correct me if I'm wrong, that's Solidity. There's a lot of developers that are comfortable with Rust, presumably.
Yeah, and I think that they say it's a modern day language. It's easy to pick up and it's quite flexible, so you can do quite a few things with it. So hence why people who are developing in the Web 2 world, they're coming across and building these exciting new dApps on Web 3 and on Solana.
Quickly tell me the difference between Web 2 and Web 3 for those who aren't familiar with those terms.
Essentially, it's a decentralized internet. So at the moment, a lot of the Web 2 world is more centralized. Google or Amazon with their web services, where a lot of the stuff is hosted there. When you go to Web 3, you have things like Arweave, where you can store files on, they call it the permaweb. So let's just say with Web 2, you have these centralized organizations. They're able to flick the switch if they don't like you. So essentially, Amazon could take down most websites if they're hosted with you. And also with Google, these are all kind of centralized. Trying to move away from that in terms of the Web 3.
And so the other thing that you mentioned was this phrase called decentralized applications. Can you just explain what we're talking about when we use that word dApp?
So at the moment, we have lots of centralized applications, those again from Google or Facebook or any of those big brands, whereas now they are more decentralized. They're these peer-to-peer, various computers around the world or nodes. They do the computation. So again, if someone tries to flick the switch and turns it off, it's pretty hard to do that when you have so many computers or nodes running. No one, even though the Chinese government was banning Bitcoin still kept on going. So that's the power of decentralization.
The way that blockchain works inherently is that it's resilient to these attacks. And so that's quite a significant example of how it potentially is the future of money, perhaps.
When one single person can't just flick the switch off, that's pretty powerful. For censorship and the authorities coming in or bad actors, the network still keeps on going.
So just going back to this Solana, so it has been, or it was, one of the best performers in my portfolio. That and Cardano seem to do incredibly well. But it's not, again, it's not about speculating on an asset or a coin and just holding it and hoping that it goes crazy. We're talking about utility, right? So
Correct.
it's not about what it is what it does. So we talked about it in the context of layer one, and can you just take me back there? Like, how does it work? So layer kind of implies that something goes on top of it. How does that work?
Correct. So this is the blockchain is the Solana blockchain, and that's the main underlying security layer. Then people can build their applications on top, but they use the computing power of the Solana network to do what they need it to do. So essentially, they can just build more the user interface with the interactions to the main blockchain without, but it's a lot faster to build a dApp because a lot of the grunt work of the foundational parts are already done. I kind of liken them to Lego blocks. Someone might build a dApp over here, and then someone else built this, and then they talk, and they go, well, what happens if we merge them together? And then this person comes along and then adds that, and all of a sudden, they've built out something a lot faster than any kind of centralized entity might do because they're all sharing, or they're connecting these things up, and some of it's mass experimentation, but some of these things are sticking. And as you can see with Solana, with so many developers on board, a lot of that stuff is sticking. 44 billion in terms of market cap. It
That's
just
right.
shows how much it's grown over the last
That's
year
right.
with developer activity and VCs coming in, people investing, and just a community being built out here.
It's not like people are going, oh, Solana tokens, let's just buy a whole bunch of them. And then the more people that buy it, the higher the price goes. It's, again, going back to that utility thing and the dApps. The more that there's a community built around it, you have this almost this exponential rate of network effect going on because there's network effect upon network effects, right?
One telephone connected to the next, it's not really that powerful. But one phone connected to 1,000 phones or 10,000 phones, that's a network, and each connection has value. So that's what we start to see with blockchains and how they can get their value.
So sticking with that theme of dApps, decentralized applications, we're going to be running an experiment today where we talk about some dApps, and the first decentralized application is the Phantom Wallet, because in order for me to buy an NFT today on the Solana blockchain, I need to I need to be in custody of it. I need to hold it. So I need a digital wallet. And traditionally, I've got a couple of different wallets, but one of the wallets I use probably the most is an Exodus wallet. And to hold NFTs, I'm not going to be using that today. I'm going to be using something called a Phantom wallet. But I've already gone ahead and I've downloaded the Phantom wallet. So, Craig, do you want to talk me through how I get to it on my Brave browser?
The little plugins seem to sit where you can see over there in that right-hand corner. Yeah,
There we
tab
go.
over through there. Yep, and you've
That
got
guy
that
with the
there, and
blue
you've also
face.
got the little ghost. Yeah, if you click
Cool.
on that Phantom app and
Yep.
then enter in your password. So it's pretty quick to set up the Phantom app, isn't it? So how long did it
Yeah.
take you to set it up, Darcy?
Honestly, it was like I went to the address to download it, and then by the way, all the links to where you can do this is in the show notes for people that are listening in or watching. But I went there. Maybe it took me 5 minutes. The hardest part
Oh,
was
yeah.
writing down my passphrase, which is on this bit of paper here, which I'm not going to show you, but that's my security passphrase. And then I went over to Easy Crypto, and I got $300, 300 New Zealand dollars worth of Solana sent to my Phantom wallet, and that's what we're looking now on the screen.
Sweet as. So you went to Easy Crypto and then sent that over, and then it arrived. Did it take long
Yeah.
for it to come through? You found?
Super fast.
Yeah, that's and I think that's the power of Solana. It's kind of what you dream a blockchain will be,
Yeah.
where it's kind of fast and cheap and things just happen. Yeah, I
Yeah.
kind of reference it. It's kind of like Visa or swiping your EFTPOS card. You kind of expect things to be that quick,
Yeah.
and this is what we're seeing out of Solana. I mean, other chains are getting there and doing things, but at the moment, it seems to be for speed. Seems to be one of the ones that's kicking a bit of butt.
Yeah, which is probably one of the reasons why the network has grown so fast and the price has risen
Correct.
so fast, because they've solved the problem, which is inherent, especially in the Ethereum blockchain. It's not as fast, and it's certainly more expensive to transact, because this cost hardly anything for me to get this put into this wallet.
Well, one of the stats I heard was Visa roughly does. Don't quote me on this, but I think it's a Visa does roughly between 24 and 36 1,000 transactions per second, and Solana had a time last year when the chain hit capacity at 400,000 transactions per second, and it went down. But
Wow.
that's a good experiment in itself, where it's essentially getting 10 times, 11 times more
Wow.
put through per second than Visa. So these things are starting to be built out, and of course it pops. So, but that's a good problem to have, where you've got to go, okay, how can we fix this? How can we do scaling? How do we make it faster?
That's right.
So,
And it is early days, and so nothing is going to be perfect in this space. But
correct.
when you consider that it's what it is, it's pretty phenomenal that something like that this could be done anywhere in the world. You and I could be talking, obviously, anywhere in the world, but you could have sent this into my wallet. It would have taken the same amount of time.
Correct. Yeah,
Amazing, eh?
that's it.
What we're going to do now then is I want some help now. So I've got my Phantom wallet set up as I've shown you. I've got a little bit of money in there. I've got a little bit of Sol, 1.44 Sol roughly in my Phantom wallet. And let's go shopping, Craig. Where should we go first?
Sweet as. So there's lots of marketplaces on Solana. So if we at the moment we're just looking at kind of art NFTs. So if you just jump over to Magic Eden, that's the one. So this is one of the larger marketplaces on Solana. What was that stat that we saw there? Volume total 80,000
80,000
Sol.
Sol. Yeah.
So in the last 24 hours, that's how much trading has been on the platform. That's
Wow.
pretty nuts. So even if you go 80,000 and times 140 US, 11 million roughly.
So in 24 hours, 11 million US
Trading volume.
dollars worth of trading volume. Phenomenal.
On some would call it expensive JPEGs. Yeah.
Right, that's right. And some of them are pretty, and some of them are like this. Like, what the heck is that? It's just pixelated art, right?
5 to 10% of the artists or the artworks become blue chips, go up in value. People will see value in them. 80 to 90% will probably keep their value or go to zero. So if you look at some of these, so you go look Bored Ape Solana Club, that looks like a bit of a rip-off of the Bored Apes on Ethereum. But you can see, I heard, so I heard that this got released for, it was 0.6 of a Sol, and now you can see their floor price is roughly, I think it was 10 Solana before. Yeah, see there, nearly 11 Solana.
What does the floor price mean, Craig?
So floor price is the cheapest, the bottom, the cheapest you'll get it for, if that makes sense. So the floor price, if you wanted to come in and buy something at floor, you're buying it at the cheapest average price. So you can see there, they're saying 11 was roughly it. So you can see everything starts going up from that price there.
Yeah. So now we're kind of like going to a shop, aren't we? So
Correct.
Magic Eden is another decentralized application on the Solana network, right? So we talked about the Phantom wallet, that's a dApp. And now we're on Magic Eden, which is just another dApp. And I could connect my Phantom wallet to Magic Eden right here, couldn't I? Is that the next step?
Yeah, so that's how you'd buy something. Here would be essentially you connect your wallet and then you choose something that you like, and then you'd go through the purchase process, which we'll do next, eh?
Let's do it. So I'm just going to the top right here of Magic Eden, and most of these places I've noticed they have this thing where you can connect up your wallet or select wallet. They've got this function, so I'm just going to click on that, and then I'm clicking on. This looks like there's more than one option here, but I'm clicking on my Phantom wallet.
Yep.
And that's coming up. Review your wallet balance activity. Request approval for transactions. Only connect websites you trust. Connect. Cool. Okay, so that's it. So now my wallet. So in the analog world, in today's world, this is like the equivalent of providing access to my bank account. I'm going to Trade Me, and I've just said, "Yep, you've got open access to my bank account, so I can do whatever I want." It's got a direct doorway into my funds, right?
Yep, correct. So I think that's the difference is the Web3 wallet. I mean, where this could lead to with a Web3 wallet is your digital identity could live in there, your digital funds can live in there. You don't need to sign in with an email address anymore. Essentially, you connect your wallet, and then away you go. So
I didn't put in any of my personal details when I set up this Phantom wallet. Nothing. Amazing, eh?
Yeah, that's going to be a bit of the change. So essentially, just by connecting and having funds in there, that's going to be the way to do it. I mean, also it asked you if you wanted to connect and authorize. So you
Yeah.
also have the power to share your data or not.
So that
So
puts the control firmly on the side of the
back with
user
you.
rather than the centralized organization behind it, like with your bank, for example.
Correct. Yeah. Or even with
Okay.
Facebook, where you're logging in and then it's recording all the details. Like at this point in time, it just knows that your wallet address, GPNV, and you've got $200 worth of SOL in there. That's all it knows about you at the moment. But it doesn't really
That's right.
care who you are. You've connected. You've
Yeah.
approved to connect to the network, and you've got funds in there.
Gotcha. Okay, so now we're here, and we can kind of just go crazy and go bananas based on what I've got to spend, which is just over 1.4 Sol.
Yeah.
So you spoke to me before we hit record around some projects, and I told you that, hey, if I'm going to do this, I'm not really totally into JPEG art, to be honest, but I'm down with experimenting with stuff like this, and especially if there's some sort of social good token where there was something good that was happening off the back of it. I thought, well, let's give that a go. What harm could come from that? So, what do you recommend I
So,
have a look at?
so I think we talked about soul trees.
There we go.
The idea here is that they're creating a metaforest, and in here, when you buy the Solana NFT, they plant trees on your behalf. So I think for every full Solana, they'll plant 10 trees.
Wow,
So let's have a look around. So it's quite an interesting concept. And then off the back of that, they're building trees in the metaverse. They're planting these inside some of the
I see.
games.
I see.
So Pesky
Right.
Penguins, that's also another kind of NFT, but then they're creating
Yeah.
games of them and they're providing the trees there.
Right.
And
Right.
then with so the interaction between one NFT community and another one coming
Right.
together and then planting trees in these metaverses, but then also planting trees in real life. We're planting 10 real trees for every Soul Trees transaction.
So there's a couple things going on here, right? So you're buying this, and for everyone, then they're obviously donating to one tree planted. So we know that for every one Solana, there's 10 trees planted, but also the interoperability piece. So you could go to various different games or different places in the metaverse, and you could plant your tree. You could put your tree there. Is that the idea?
I think so, yeah. I haven't truly followed the roadmap that they're doing here, but they're
Yeah.
definitely adding the trees to these, and each of the trees are individual. So
Right.
it's quite interesting what they're doing here. I mean, this got released, I think it was late last year. Now you just buy them on the secondary market, which
And I know there's ones with penguins and stuff like that as well.
yeah,
There all sorts of things, and I think from a charity point of view, charitable organization should definitely be opening up to this concept because every time that NFT gets sold, there is capacity for a share of that sale price to go back to the charity. Right? Is that kind of how this could work?
correct. So I think for these guys, 5% of each resale will go back into the organization or their DAO or however it's set up. And then they can use that as part of their treasury to go and buy these trees or do
Mm.
various things to support their mission and purpose. So people will own these, have bought them before, and then essentially they're reselling them on the secondary marketplace, like a Trade Me, putting their price up there. And you can either pay the price there or you can offer a bid, and then someone might accept it or not.
Okay. Okay. So where we were before, that's where we could have, if we got in at the right time, we could have bought it when it was being like right after a new
Minted.
mint, right?
Correct,
So, and
yeah.
that's where there's potentially an opportunity if you catch these projects early on, and if they do well, you buy them here, and then you would go to the likes of say Magic Eden, and then you would sell it there. Is that kind of what a lot of people do?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, yeah. A
Yeah,
lot of that is happening. But then it can go the other way as well. So I
of
think if
course.
you go back to the website, these might
Yeah,
have been one sol when they launched, and then now they're zero point 0.2 sol. So they've
right.
gone the other way.
Let's hope that nobody watching or listening did buy it at 2 Sol or 1 Sol, but yeah, hopefully they're in it for the long term. Hopefully it does do well. But right now we can pick them up for about 0.2 to 0.65, maybe up to one.
Yeah.
But I'm just going to go ahead and select one of these bad boys. Is
I,
that pretty much the next step, eh?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Pick one that you like. I mean, there are things like rarity traits and that, but I think for you, Darcy, it's more a case of
Yeah.
what tickles your fancy at this point in time.
Let's go for something cheerful looking. Number
Yeah.
2242. That looks like a bit of me. Just happens to be the cheapest one.
So we can see here in the top right-hand corner, your wallet's connected there. So it still knows that, well, it knows that your wallet is connected, your Web3 wallet, and then also you've got funds in there. Now, this is the page for the NFT at the moment. It's been verified, so that's what that checkbox is. You can see that it is number 2242 out of the 7777 that were released. And then you've got a bit more detail up. So this is kind of like a trade me where you got the info about the product that you're trying to buy and various bits that you can see. It's quite cool. So those are the rarity or the attributes for it. Now, the pretty cool thing below there is the activity. This was only listed 20 hours ago. And before that, it was actually bought 12 days ago for 0.249.
Wow.
So it's come down in price because the listing 3 months ago was 1.3 sold.
Wow. So we are literally catching a falling knife, except the knife here is made out of wood.
With a bit of whittling. Yeah.
There you go. Cool. So you can see the history. This is, imagine if you were going to trade me to buy a used car and you could see the kind of history just like that, but everything is there. Welcome to the blockchain, right? Everything is fully transparent right in front of your eyes.
So we don't know the email addresses for these people or their contact details, but we do know their wallet addresses because you can see there you got buyers and sellers on that side. So as it is, the transactions are recorded and the wallet address is recorded, but then that's the history that gets recorded to the blockchain.
That's cool. And so it's got two options here, one where I can make an offer, one where it's buy now. So presumably make an offer is like anything else. You're just bidding. It might get accepted. It might not get accepted. But today I'm just going to click on the buy now function just to get the job done. So I'm just going to click on buy now. Is that cool?
Do it.
All right. Buy now. After wallet approval, your transaction will be finished in about 3 seconds. Amazing. So no guessing whether it's going to happen. You don't have to worry about negative feedback and whether this buyer is authenticated or not. It's going to happen. So approved transaction, negative 0.19 sol coming out of my account. Network fee, almost nothing. Approve, done.
There you go. So we can see there, cool. Congrats, your purchase is fulfilled. So we should be able to jump over to your Phantom wallet up in there in the browser top. Yeah, click on that.
There we go. Yeah. So how do I see this NFT that I've just bought?
Where's so if you click on the little squares there.
Yeah.
Yep, that's where your assets and collectibles sit.
Well, there we go. Look at that. My first NFT. Done. Job done. Tick it off the list. 2022 goal. First thing on the list was to get an NFT. Thanks, Craig.
So you can click on that. So if you click on that, then this is the way that you're able to see. So you can see your lovely little picture there.
So now that I've got this NFT in my wallet, I could go to my Twitter account, I could go to my LinkedIn profile, and I could put this amazing and wonderful tree on my social media profile. And if those that follow me on social media, if you see a tree appear, now you know why. I'm just trying to get some value out of this amazing investment I just made, or look like a complete numpty. It's up to you to decide. But I could actually sell it though, couldn't I? I could go back to Magic Eden now, and I could actually list it, couldn't I?
You could go back, you could speculate, you could list it for double the price and put it for 0.4, and then away you go. You'd probably pay a small listing fee, but essentially it's yours. You hold that token inside your Web3 wallet. So if we click back on it, and then you click on the actual. There you go, click send. If you want to send it to someone, you can type in someone's address, or copy and paste someone's address in there. Then it'll say, hey, you have to pay a small transaction fee, which I think is like 0.03 of a cent. You'd have to have some SOL in your account, which you do, and then you can send it to someone. And that person should receive it in, I don't know if the blockchain is not congested, anywhere from 2 to 5 seconds.
And so I could say to you, Craig, hey, I've got this amazing tree. You really got to, check out this tree, right? So I can send it through to you. You could do what you want with it. I don't know, maybe fertilize it a bit, fire it back. That's kind of how it works, right? It's a thing, just like any other thing, but I'm transmitting it to you in just over the blockchain. Simple as that.
Yeah, and I think it's different to having a JPEG that is stored on your computer or in files, because essentially this is a contract. There is a token behind it. You own the token, and what we're visualizing here is also the JPEG for that token. So there is a visual representation of it. Right. But yeah, you can send it You own it. You can do what you want with it right now.
And I could right click and I could save it and
Save
do whatever the
images.
heck I want with it. Now, by the way, so could anybody else, right? It's kind of like the equivalent of, I know it's a bit of a stretch, but it's kind of like going to the Louvre and taking a digital photo of the Mona Lisa. Anyone can do that, but it doesn't mean much because you're not the actual owner of it. But it still looks really similar or the same. There's no difference in what it looks like, but I'm the one that has the certificate of ownership. I'm the authentic owner of it, and that's undisputable.
Correct.
Well, that's awesome, and thanks, Craig, for walking me through that. But before we finish off, like we talked about Solana, Phantom, and then an NFT, and we chose this one. But obviously, there's many, many, many projects. What are you into? Like, just give me maybe the top couple of projects that you're into at the moment, and what appeals to you in terms of the NFTs that you're looking at the moment.
Actually, if you go back on Magic Eden, I can show you one that is quite interesting that I've been doing as a bit of a case study. So if you just
Yeah.
go into search collections and go Shadowy Supercoder DAO. So this here, these got launched at 3 Sol, and then now you can see they're about 130 Sol, or 116, 130, so somewhere around there.
Wow.
And essentially what it is these have helped fund a actual business, and the actual business is providing nodes and servers for the Solana network. So essentially people who have bought the NFT back in the day for $450, 3 Sol, they hold that in their wallet. They are now getting airdropped shadowy tokens. And these shadowy tokens are roughly about $1.80, and they're getting 20 of these a day because they were an early backer of this project. So in essence, those people holding their NFT might be retrieving up to $20,000 US if the
Wow.
shadowy coin stays at its current price.
That's nuts. So, do you want to just take me through that whole airdrop thing again? So, when you're part of a project early on, is the idea that the developers kind of reward you for loyalty in a sense, but they're also trying to expand the network as fast as they can. So, they just drop these new tokens into wallets of users that are actively using the network. Is that kind of how that works?
Yeah, correct. But some of them are. So some of the ones that are just more profile pics and JPEGs, those are probably a bit different. These are ones with more utility. So I think these are the ones that are getting quite exciting. If you
Yeah.
go to coin market cap there, so the coin is roughly about $1.75. And so
Yeah.
people who are staking that NFT that you saw, so they've bought their NFT, sits in their Phantom wallet. There was a website you could go to. You could then go and stake that, and you would end up getting 20 shadowy tokens a day for a year. And those tokens, if they roughly at this $1.87, roughly about $18,000. So it's an interesting use case of rewarding people who have got in early,
Yeah.
have provided seed capital, and then they've gone, you know what, we're going to reward these guys with tokens.
Right. Right. And this isn't something that's like a contractual obligation. This is kind of just in the best interest of the community and the developer. They're just trying to endorse this token and get the network built out even bigger. That's
Get
the
a
idea,
network
right?
built out. I mean, these guys are offering, if you're on Solana, you could use their service for until the end of last year for free, just to, again, get that network adoption and that kind of community built up.
So, Craig, we've been talking about the Phantom wallet on the Solana network to buy an NFT, which I've just done. That's the tree. But in another universe, in the Ethereum world, we have another wallet, which then can be used to buy other NFTs on the Ethereum blockchain. And that's the MetaMask wallet. And we'll cover that another day. But you mentioned before we hit record that there's strong indication, nothing out there yet, but there's a strong indication that there might be airdrops offered soon in that space. Can you just talk me through that?
Yeah, correct. So I think there's a website called Airdrops. They often have on there any rumors of airdrops that are going to be happening. So if we go into there and we look, MetaMask might be doing one. So
No.
airdrops often reward people who have just taken a bit of a jump in and done something. So some of the big airdrops were Uniswap. So even if you just interacted with a smart contract, done one interaction, you got
Mhm.
rewarded. So you could get 400 uni tokens, and the price of uni when it went up, that was worth about $20,000 for some people.
Wow.
So that's come right back now. And then there was ENS. So if you bought an Ethereum name server, .eth address domain name, some people got thousands of dollars. So I saw on Twitter one guy had got a full year's salary just by buying 4 Web3 domain names. So pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And these are
Yeah.
retrospective. So they reward people who have taken the leap, done an interaction, and then all of a sudden they'll do a snapshot on the blockchain at a certain date. And anyone who has used it by that date, they'll do airdrops and token releases for them. So if you click
Right.
on that MetaMask, what is it saying? Make swaps within MetaMask. So really downloaded it, swapped from one item to the other, or bought and sold on there. It's worth just doing it because there is possible rumor of it introducing a token.
Right. Okay. And have you personally been involved in many of these, Craig, where you've been airdropped different
Yeah,
tokens?
there's a variety. So
Yeah.
you can essentially go to various websites and you can put in your wallet address, and it'll tell you what you've been valid for, what you might have missed across kind of history. And then websites like that, airdrops, tell you what's coming up as well. So a lot of people go hunting those airdrops.
Right.
They might use or interact with a smart contract over that time, and they
Yeah.
can get, anywhere from a handful of coins through to things that could be worth thousands of dollars
Right.
for free.
It's great. So you got to be in to win is kind of the story, right?
Yeah, like with those .eth domain names. One of them was by a domain name, and if you had bought it 2 years earlier, you might have got airdropped ENS tokens worth 6,000, not $4,000.
Wow.
So yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, unbelievable. Hey, welcome to the new world. But you're on the new frontier, right? So you're chasing, like, you are literally on the very, very cusp of it, always searching out the next thing, and you're on the forefront of what's being developed. So there is a space there for people to play in. Like I personally probably don't have the headspace for it, but I know of people, and I know you know of people as well that are very active on that forefront that are, but they're building wealth in a very, very new world. And the way I
Mm,
visualize it is that they're pulling it from this digital universe and in some cases translating it into our current universe. And that's a real tangible benefit. So there
yeah,
is wealth inside of this. I think it's absolutely fascinating. So thanks again, Craig, for joining me on this episode. And I'm looking forward to maybe buying my NFT number 2 on the Ethereum blockchain shortly with you. That'll be good.
cool. Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
Cool, man. All right. Thanks again.
All right. Thanks,
Cheers.
Darcy.